Welcome to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Drive Safe Day. We have some great guests today. We have Don Christian from Christensen Transportation and Big Blue Brian Brzezowski from BCB Transport. I'm pumped up. I'm excited. I cannot wait.
Yeah, we got a couple of presidents going to come in here.
Presidentes, baby.
Give us the word on what's going on, how it's going on, and what we need to do to fix all the problems in the world.
So let me tell you something. So, big fan. I love like slogans. You know, you have BCB. It's be safe, communicate, and if you can, be on time. I love it. It brings a tear down my eye. Then you have Christensen Transportation, where the truckers truck. You know what I love about that? Because if you ain't trucking with Christensen, you ain't a trucker.
Yeah,
that is the coolest slogan ever right there. I love it.
And you gotta, I don't know if the whoo goes along. I don't know if that goes along with the slogan, but all the rest of it sounds great.
I don't know. I think we're gonna get a little wolf put at the end right there on the end.
Is that what that was, a wolf? I thought it was a dying animal, but we're in and we're on and we're looking. But it sounds good. Maybe we just work on that one a little bit.
We're gonna talk a little transportation, right? We're gonna go into the supply chain. When you want to know something, you don't ask a reporter about the supply chain crisis. You go right down to the people and you ask them. Drive safe.
Yeah, and there's been a few people that have asked this question before, and it seems to be a difficult question to answer.
You know, I would love to hear anybody ask you, because one thing you would do if you didn't know it, you just make it up.
I'll just tell you what I think.
That's what we like. Hey, inflation, a lot of news going on around that right now. Inflation is up right now. The highest it's been in 31 years, Drive Safe Dave. We continue to see higher prices on the market. We see higher prices on trucks, on trailers, in transportation, and wages. You name it, and yet Drive Safe Dave, we're going to talk about this, but I want your opinion. We are still sitting at over 4 million less workers today than pre-pandemic, before the pandemic.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of reasons for that, and I think those play into that. A lot of those is we learned not to work in some ways, in some cases, or we learned to move from a lower paying job to a higher paying job, and more jobs opened up, and then we just did some lateral moves. But some people just didn't go back to work, and they're not actually filing for unemployment because they can't on some instances, but they're also not going back to work because they learned not to go back. They want to be at home with the kids. They were at home with the kids, and they want to stay at home with the kids.
So let me tell you something. I'm not staying home with the kids.
I'm not
I'll go to work all day. Staying home with the kids, that's more work than work, right?
It's a whipping.
It is a whoop, no doubt about it. Hey, kids, I still love you.
Yeah,
don't forget that. Daddy
else's.
still loves you, but you were a whooping. I wouldn't go back, and I don't think I could do that again.
Yeah, I know. And the last time we saw double-digit inflation was in the 70s, right? Like right there, closing in on the 80s, right before Reaganomics. But I'll tell you, and as long as the Fed doesn't interfere with the price of interest rates and get involved, we're going to see this fluctuation go up and down. And they're saying it's a transient rate of inflation going on, that it will level off over time. But and I'm pretty surprised that they're not involved already.
Yeah, for sure. We talked also yesterday just a little bit about that Texas triangle. And that Texas triangle is Austin, San Antonio, Houston, that little market really kind of in there that today has no freight. They're saying that will be the next big freight boom out of that area.
Wow.
So when you think about that, think about all the business moving to Austin. And today, Austin just consumes, they produce nothing. Some of this is changing. And just announced yesterday, Samsung is going to put a big plant right here, the chip plant, right here in Taylor, Texas, Austin, right?
Yeah,
in that Austin area.
Yeah, and then they're going to build what? They're going to build cars there now, out there in Austin. They're going to build electric cars. I mean, that's the idea, and they're bringing production, they're bringing plants, and it has a lot to do with not only the workforce that's here and available to them, but it also has to do with the tax abatements and the tax credits and the ease of which the businesses are coming to.
Everybody's coming to Texas. We see that all over the place. You had Governor Abbott go out there and create a commercial, right, to the shipping industry, saying, "Hey, listen, come on, here it's you can leave there, go through the Panama Canal, come to our port. We have plenty of room." And then he ends it with this right here that says, "Hey, leave California. Everyone else is doing it." Coming to Texas.
Actually, you just gave everybody a fast pass to get in, right? You get the fast pass at Six Flags to get in and get their ships unloaded.
So listen to this. It's a $17 billion factory. It's going to house 1,800 jobs. And I didn't know this, that Samsung is the world's largest by revenue semiconductor plant.
Well, I did not know that. I thought Taiwan What
by
control?
revenue. So
Oh,
they
by
must
revenue.
they must
Okay.
do it by volume.
Okay.
Samsung just charges a little bit more, I guess.
Taiwan was the leader. But that makes sense. I'm good with that. That makes sense. But that's pretty interesting that they're coming here. I would be interested to know what abatements they got and what they got in, but it doesn't really matter as long as they come here and put it in.
I agree with you. Drive safe, Dave. Listen, we have an interview coming up. I do want to talk about this because it's going to lead into some of our conversation. So yesterday, I go get ready for some Thanksgiving. I got to go buy some goods. You know how that is, right?
luck.
And here we are. So some of the side items, there's no elbow macaroni and cheese. And listen, just throw some pasta in there and I'm good. It doesn't have to be elbow, honey, but it's got to be elbow, large elbow as well. So there's no sage sausage. The shelves are empty in price, and we talked about that yesterday, how the inflation alone, Thanksgiving is expected to cost like 16.9% more this year for a family of 10 than it did any other year before. But the meat's up. There's no more buying $50 worth of groceries, get a free turkey. Oh, those deals are done. Where are they at?
Turkey prices are outrageous, and I'll tell you, my wife searched for went to 3 stores to find the pumpkin in the can. You know what I'm talking about for the pumpkin pies? She went to 3 different stores to find it.
It's not pumpkin in a can, right? The pumpkin pie mix, I get it. That'd be a big can, sir.
Well,
if there's a pumpkin inside that.
Some pumpkin in a can. How's that? It's some pumpkin. But she went everywhere looking for that to get some of the fixings for dinner. And I tell you, it's going to be a little bit different. I truly believe, though, that this Thanksgiving, as we talk about inflation. It's a little bit more about getting families together. But as this year, like never before, and there is going to be spreads out there, and we are going to have to face those empty shelves.
Yeah, listen, we're going to remind you, though, today, although we are at Thanksgiving, right, we're coming up on it. Last year, we encouraged you out there to not go home, to stay in your bubble during that pandemic season. Listen, it's still real out there. You still have to, for the first time, many of you that truck for a living, that stay in your own bubble, you're going to be getting out of it and mixing out with a lot of people. We're going to just remind you to try to wash them hands a little bit more frequently as you're doing this. You're going to see family that you haven't seen in a couple of years.
Right. It's
like last year didn't even exist. So remember when you get back to that family that you know what, this country still needs you. You're our heroes out there on the road. We need you out here. Do what you can to make sure that you stay safe. Listen, we're not saying live in a bubble. I don't think, right?
We're not.
Bubble boy.
But there's a couple of things that you can do, and make sure that you don't overexpose yourself, and you get vaccinated if you can, because we want you to survive. This virus, I believe, truly will find you if it has an opportunity to. It's still out there. There's a rise in infections. We just want you to be safe, be careful, and be mindful and understand the dangers that still are involved without being out there today.
Hey, we'll be right back with Don Christian and Brian Brzezowski on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
You're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. BCB Live covers freight. Here we are now at 21% of record freight being rejected. News over in the UK, they have the Army personnel getting ready to start driving the fuel trucks. Weather, traffic.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to some traffic and weather with Buckle Up Bob.
And most importantly, safety.
You can do many things to communicate that you are slowing down. You can flip your hazards on.
Expect craziness like this all the time.
75% of these fatal accidents involving these trucks are with the first two, and it's the driving too fast and tailgating. If this driver hadn't slowed down, this could have been a whole different outcome.
Tune in weekdays from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can watch BCB Live through LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe today and follow BCB Live.
Hi, this is David Dover, also known as Drive Safe Dave. You are watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Safety is what you want to talk about, and safety is what you want to be every single day. That's what we're here for. We're here to make it better.
The industry needs BCB Live so that it can find new and inventive ways to bring safety to the forefront for every single person out there on the road.
While you're on duty driving, you have to stay focused in that moment and in that time. If you need a time, if you need a second, or if you need a break, pull over, jump out, get that Pepsi, that hot dog. Do what you got to do to relax for a second.
You can watch BCB Live weekdays, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. So what are you waiting for? Follow and subscribe to BCB Live today.
And welcome to BCB Live. You caught me here with my guard down here, but hold on a second here. There we go. Hey, welcome to BCB Live, safest station in the nation. We are joined by two phenomenal guys, two good friends as well, right?
Right.
Presidents of companies, Don with Christian Transportation, Brian Brzezowski with BCB Transport. Gentlemen, first of all, thank you for joining us here at BCB Live. You know, a lot of people here watching this show. Don, I'm going to go to you first because that's where the truckers truck. Tell me, how did you get that name?
Being a fourth-generation trucker and having pretty high hiring standards for a long time, looking for something that we could use for a motto. Barry McGowan, my safety director, after winning several of the TCA safety awards in a row, come up with that, and we registered, trademarked it early on. So we're the truckers truck. Yeah.
I love that thing.
Yeah,
I love it.
We love it too. We've now branded it on all of our trailers. Well, I've been on trailers forever, but now you'll see it on all of our trucks as well.
Awesome. And Brian Brzezowski, Be Safe, Communicate, Be on Time. Talk to us a little bit about that.
When you can. So, Be Safe, we knew that me and my business partner, Sir Rick, or Rick Larkin, I guess you should call it, we always felt like that, you know, we knew what we were doing trucking-wise, but we said, if anything could shut us down, Don, we said safety would be the first thing that we had to protect. So that was the first thing that we ever thought about, was being safe while we're trucking. And everything that goes along with it, that pirouettes behind being safe. So that's the first thing we did. Be safe, communicate. Everybody wants communication, whether it's driver to us, back to the driver, or back to the customer. We all want communication, and being on time. Used to it was be on time. It's be on time when you can now, because it's a different day and time.
Yeah.
So you bring up something, and I want to talk about that because we're big on streaks here at BCB Live. Talk to us about, you have a streak and you have a big streak as well. Talk to us, Don, about your safety streak right now at Christensen.
So we just passed a little over 20 million miles 2 weeks ago without a preventable accident. Those are accidents that aren't charged to us as a motor carrier. We're coming up on December 15th. If we hit that day, it'll be 1 year and however many miles without having a chargeable accident. So we're pretty excited about that. We just passed 10 million miles with no DOT recordables of any kind.
Awesome.
So real excited about those two streaks.
Big Blue, you guys have a streak of your own. It's called the backing, the get out and look streak.
I think it's 79, or where are we at? 70 what? Just say it, producer. There you go. Well, I'm betting on we're going to get 5 more days out of it. I'll just let y'all know.
He had a premonition.
We're going to be at 79 here pretty soon, but yes, that's unbelievable. Don, we were had about 2.65 or 2.75 backing accidents per week, and now we are at 74 days without one. So you start talking about it, our driver's doing the unbelievable job, and we even count when we get backed into as part of that streak.
Oh, yeah.
So it's great. It's a great streak for us right now.
So safety, obviously, it's a big portion of what we do. We also, you know, and especially what y'all do there, safety is important because, and we're kind of going to get off script here, but I do like this because if you don't watch your safety, you know what, your premiums are going to go skyrocket. You know, the odds of having an accident and then losing in court, just again, that culture. What are you all doing to make culture around safety for your company?
Well, for us, we've got another motto that says safety takes priority. And that's on everybody's signature in their emails. And we actually went around and trained every single department and how they could affect safety out on the highway. I'll give you a brief example. Thursdays are the days that we do our prelim payments to the drivers, so they're getting settlements. There's a little anxiety there. We trained our settlement clerk that when you hit no on the button, when you see it ring, he can call back later, that creates additional anxiety among that driver, where if you just pick up the phone and talk through things with them, then they're going to have a chance to bring their anxiety level down. And so, you know, that's just one example, but we went to every department and we talked about what safety means in their department for trucks out on the highway.
Brian?
So we do a show We also, so it's to us, it's like a, you know, you have your quarterly meeting, Don. So we have that meeting every day, and then interactive with the drivers, and also we bonus for safety as well. So it keeps everybody active through, you know, through that. So that's a lot of things that we do on that side, on the safety side.
Gotcha. So we're going to talk that, and we're going to lead this into driver shortage, right? We hear the ATA saying 80,000 drivers short from our industry right now. When we hear the president as well, and producer, if you can, go ahead and play that clip real quick.
This is across the board commitment to going to 24/7. This is a big first step in speeding up the movement of materials and goods through our supply chain.
So supply chain, it's the front page of everything. It's all we hear: supply chain, supply chain, supply chain, supply chain. What's going on in our industry? I'll let either one of you start with that. Why can't I get my noodles at Thanksgiving? That's all I need, some elbow noodles. Why can't we get that? Why aren't there any cars? What is happening in this industry today?
Well, first I want to defend the truckers just a little bit, because I think they've gotten most of the black eye on this deal. You even had President Biden say the truckers just need to work more. Well, we're regulated on the amount of hours we can work. It would be nice if we could pick up 2 more hours a day of driving time and get the shippers to, you know, load us quicker, unload us quicker. We typically spend 2 to 4 hours a day that we could use driving, just loading and unloading live loads. So
That they want to call it free time.
right, free time.
Yeah.
Right, that's free
Well,
time. The drivers don't
who
get
works
paid.
for free anyway?
We don't get paid.
I don't know.
So here you go,
work
right here.
free.
So let me just do that. So we have a driver shortage right now in 80,000. And so Don, how do you sell, and Brian, how do you sell a driver to come work where they can come work for free? That's a hard thing to do, right?
You can't do that anymore.
You don't talk about it. I mean,
Right.
it's you don't. I mean, who wants to work for free? Nobody in this building wants to work for free. I can promise you that. You give me somebody at McDonald's that goes in and they're getting paid $20 an hour, right? Well, hey, guess what? You make that coffee. Oh, by the way, the first 2 hours are free, Don.
Or the first hour and the last hour.
Yeah,
You pick it. Which one?
How would you like that?
Right. No, they're not going to do that.
And so with all that happens, it means we have shortage here. We struggle getting drivers in this thing. And now we have that new 4-letter word that's floating around here, and it's inflation. And it's such a bad 4-letter word that it's like 9 letters now. It's not even 4 letters anymore. Inflation. And Don and Brian, when we think about inflation, we think about the cost of goods going up. And when is that coming down? I mean, first of all, why do we have inflation? I mean, are your costs really going up?
Yeah. So it started with the chip shortage, and they were going to have record build years for trucks and trailers this year. Production's down 35 to 40% because they can't get the parts to build the trucks. They were sold out for all of this year. I buy PACCAR product. I buy a lot of Peterbilt's. They have pushed anywhere from 10 to 15,000 trucks out into next year. Well, next year was going to be a record build year. So they're not going to be able to build those trucks. They went from building 175 a day down to 135 a day just for part shortages. Well, it's supply and demand. You know, you've got people that are coming back, and it's not the OEM saying, hey, we're going to charge you more. It's the buyer saying, I'll pay more if you put me at the front of the line.
Then you have allocation, right? And I think Don's kind of talking about that some of these dealerships now are allocated. They may have had 1,200 trucks sold first quarter, but they're only allocated a certain amount of trucks. Brian, have you heard anything from any of the vendors?
Oh, 100%. So in the future, they could sell 12,000 trucks during that time frame, and we bought some Kenworths, and we're heavy on the Volvo side. And so here it is. Now they're coming back to you and saying, hey, we only have 1,000 build slots. So we're not going to be on the Q1. So we're not going to be able to allocate that. We're going to have to spread you out through Q1, Q2, and Q3 to get the amount of trucks that you have ordered.
Yeah.
So the stuff that you were banking on to fill seats, to replenish old equipment that you have in your fleet, now you don't have that. And now you're dealing with older equipment, and you're dealing with parts issues now.
And driving your maintenance cost up.
100%. So something breaks down. Now it's okay. Well, one box in a Freightliner. Have you heard about this,
Yep.
Don? National back order.
Yep.
We've had 2 go down, Don, and it's taken, I want to say, somewhere around 60 days to get them trucks back in. What do you do?
Right.
I mean, what do you tell the owner operator? He can't. There's no way. Nobody can sustain 60 days being in the shop.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. And here it is now. They're starting to allocate trailers. Which trailers? We bought trailers. They've went up 50%.
Yeah.
50%. On our trucks, we're about the same as you, Don. We're somewhere around that 16 to 17% raise in cost, and it's unbelievable. And now people talk to us about supply chain and why is the cost going up so much? Well, hey, here you go. Here's the reason why, because we can't get parts. We can't get fixed. We can't get back on the road. We have to pay our drivers, and they deserve to be paid more.
Right.
100%.
Downtime at your shipper and receiver.
Exactly. Everybody wants to have that elbow macaroni at $2. Well, it's $3 now.
Right.
So what about this? So we have the delays in here. What about the parking? You know, we talked about the infrastructure bill. We've talked about it here plenty of times. Nowhere in the infrastructure bill does it address truck parking. Is that even an issue, or is that just something that we make up on what we do? Is truck parking an issue at gas stations, at fuel islands, at rest areas? Is there plenty of parking, or is there really an issue?
It's a real issue. Now, if you count total trucks parking spaces across the entire United States, they'll tell you we don't have a truck parking issue, because you can go to certain places out west where the population isn't as dense as it is east and in other major metropolitan areas, and there's plenty of parking. So, you know, typical government, that's what they do. They count every parking space and say, oh, there's enough parking for the trucks on the road. But when you're running the I-81 corridor, where the third of the population's within 500 miles of each other between Boston and Philadelphia, and you stretch that out a little bit down that eastern seaboard to Miami, there's not enough truck parking. And we've got really strict laws where these drivers are on a shot clock when they start every morning. You start out your day, and it's just like any other event. You're on a shot clock, and when you start getting down towards the end of your time, that's when drivers get anxious. That's when they make mistakes. That's when they start looking for places to park that aren't safe. And that's why we see trucks on ramps and off ramps, even at rest areas. The rest areas are completely full, and they're still lining up the on ramps and off ramps.
What I would say is you go to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and you see if there's a parking issue.
Right.
That's the corridor to the northeast. That's a corridor going west. That is a corridor going south. You tell me if there's a parking issue, and I talk about a main hub on that 81, on where all the population's at. You tell me if there's not a parking issue. It's horrible.
And let's talk Dallas for a second. You both do a lot of business inside the Dallas area. Dallas, top 4, top 5 shipper if you take the metropolitan in the country. Where are you parking in Dallas? I'm just curious.
Well, God forbid you park down at the Flying J in Hutchins. Then you get
the only
robbed.
places you're allowed to park are where you're not supposed to park.
Right. Yeah.
Where do you park in DFW? There is no parking inside this metroplex.
You're typically parking at your shippers out on their street in industrial parks where you have no facilities.
Thank you.
So the drivers are, having to try to handle that on their own inside the cab of the truck. And these trucks are really nice, but they don't come with bathrooms. They'll have refrigerators, microwaves, TVs, and a lot of other amenities, but they don't have bathrooms.
Yeah, I'd like to see what see, this is the real workforce right here. I'd like to see what everybody else does, because the one thing I do right when I wake up, I used to restaurant.
Right.
And now they're having to sleep at a shipper or a receiver. And what do you think? And then, oh, by the way, there's one bathroom, and it's this freaking big, and it's horrible. It's trashed out, and they will expect the driver to be on time. Oh, by the way, you're 15 minutes late. Hey, you're going to have to wait a little bit. You didn't check in time. Well, I was using the restroom. Hey, there was a line that you had out the door using the restroom. What am I supposed to do?
Right.
And they want us to.
It happens every day.
Oh, exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about our famous, a great subject, and that's the vaccine mandate. Let's hop into that. We have a few minutes left. So we have a stay on that, right? It's up in the 6th Circuit up in Cincinnati as they continue to look at that. The supply chain's a mess right now. I mean, if we went through a vaccine mandate, and both of you are large shippers or large customers or employers with greater than 100 people, how is that going to affect your job in trucking?
It's going to make it difficult. We surveyed our drivers about 3 months ago, and we're at 40% vaccinated. We're going back to survey to now ask if the mandate is put into effect, would you get vaccinated, or what steps would you be willing to take to stay employed, so that we can kind of understand. Our in-walls employees are about 70% vaccinated, and we're starting that same process of communicating, of trying to find out where they stand on it. And what I'm afraid is the people that aren't vaccinated have chosen to not be for a reason. And I think it's going to be difficult to say it's your job or vaccination. So we've taken the stance we're going to work around it. Well, I mean, we're going to comply with the rules, but at Christensen Transportation, we're going to make sure nobody has to pick their job between vaccination and non-vaccination.
Right.
I would like, and I'm going to mirror that, Don, too. The only reason I got vaccinated is because I had to go see customers, and they were like saying, "Hey," he called Houston. I'm headed to Houston in a month. He goes, "Are you vaccinated?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "You got to be if you're coming down." So I put together, within 3 weeks, I got both shots. And I guess I would say I am pro-vaccination. I think we should. I think it does work. I think there's a reason for it. And if you don't want to, I'm not mad about it. It's your body. I fully agree to that. But it also has curved the problem. I think we can all agree to that. Now, did they come up with a vaccination? I saw an article the other day. Okay, they came up with a vaccination for COVID within 10 months, something like that. And how have they not got a vaccination for cancer or something like that?
Right.
I mean, is cancer that much stronger than COVID? And it probably is. And but I'm just a little curious.
But they've been working on that for 40 years.
Years, 40 years. But then AIDS, you look at AIDS in that same article, it said AIDS.
So some of the fear that we hear, and the producer can attest to some of this, when we hear the drivers, calling for different companies, is they say, well, number one, it's my right. Right? It's my right. I don't trust it yet because it's only been 10 months. And where is all the testing at? And if you believe in it, or I guess it depends what side you're on. Well, that's all the testing you need. And some folks just say, no, it's not. I mean, it's only been a year today. I mean, it hasn't been that long. And
if that's your argument, I have no problem with it.
Yeah,
I can agree with that. But I'm again with Don. We're gonna mirror that side too, where we're gonna, test available. We'll figure it out, because you know what, good employees are worth fighting for.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And you know what, we built this company with good employees. We built it with great drivers, and we're going to continue on that. If it's you want to keep your right 100%, but it's a difficult situation, and we'll get through it.
So let me ask this. Let me ask it this way as well. What makes it? Why you? Because you have 100 or greater, as opposed to those that don't have it. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. I want your opinions on that. Why treat you different than somebody who has less employees than you do?
So here's the crazy part of it, right? I've got 100 employees, counting my in-walls employees, that are at 3 different terminals. I don't have 100 any one terminal. And I've got about 100 company truck drivers, and I got 100 independent contractors. The independent contractors, they're not required. They're going to mix in with all the same people, but they're not required. But the company truck drivers and all the in-walls employees, they're going to be required to take a vaccination. So I don't know why or how they even come up with the rules to vet that out. It's, I think the most we have in any one office is 35 people. So we're spread out in Nashville, Lebanon, Tennessee, Chesterfield, Missouri, and Stratford, Missouri.
Yeah, because and yeah, where did the 100 come from? They just say a lot of it was a number, right? That was just felt right. That was the feel right number. And what makes it? And Brian, to you, what makes it more fair, or how? I mean, is it safe to say that if you have 25 employees that you're not going to get it? I mean, isn't it fair? Right for one, right for all?
Oh, it's great. It should be 100%. And I don't care if you have 10. So again, we're just like Don. Oklahoma City, Carlisle, Pennsylvania, Denver, Colorado, Mansfield, Texas. We don't have 100 in all in one location. We don't.
Right.
So why do we have to? Why does that mandate fit us? And then on your drivers, they're not domiciled here. They're not in here every day. On your long haul drivers, even your regional drivers, they don't come in. Everything's done. We're computerized. We put everything in. There's no transflow. There's no dropping off your bills anymore. When you come by, every once in a while, drop them off. You want to come by and grab, say hi, cool, 100%. We want to see you. We have showers here. But how does that fit in? And then if there are 10 employees, it's just the same as 100.
Yeah. There is a lot of talk that the single driver, because he does a lot of single work, almost like a work from home employee would, and that when he's not doing that, he's outside, that more than likely he'll get an exemption. But he'll have to wear a mask when he goes in. And
how does your work from home employees count towards your 100?
Yeah.
That puts you over the 100 status.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me. Right. So, okay, they never come in, they work from home, and they count towards your 100.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, or your drivers count towards your 100, which they work in a truck. They go home. They don't come to they're not here, domiciled at our office. How does that count towards your 100?
It's typical.
Okay, or you have 3 people in Oklahoma City.
All right, gentlemen, we have lots to talk about. We still have more at BCB Live, and I think we're going to have a part 2 because I think we have a lot to talk about. I love the insight from both of you on our industry, right, on what you do. I appreciate all the safe miles that you all do and the safety that you do, and you encourage to your, not just to your drivers, but to your employees, right, on the culture of safety. This is BCB Live. We have Buckle Up Bob coming up next. We are the safest station in the nation.
Your host of BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. If you don't already know about Freight Review, it's a segment I cover once a week where I analyze freight rejections, freight tenders, driver productivity, and much, much more. You can watch Freight Review on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe today and follow BCB Live.
Hi, this is David Dover, also known as Drive Safe Dave. You are watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Safety is what you want to talk about, and safety is what you want to be every single day. That's what we're here for. We're here to make it better.
The industry needs BCB Live so that it can find new and inventive ways to bring safety to the forefront for every single person out there on the road.
While you're on duty driving, you have to stay focused in that moment, in that time. If you need a time, if you need a second, or if you need a break, pull over, jump out, get that Pepsi, that hot dog. Do what you got to do. Relax for a second.
You can watch BCB Live weekdays, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time.
So what are you waiting for? Follow and subscribe to BCB Live today.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday. Great job out there. We're going to get you started off with a little bit of traffic and then some weather updates as we approach Turkey Day coming up here pretty soon. As we start with the DFW area, again, doesn't look all that bad this morning. You know, you're going to have rush hour traffic in these major cities, but you can see the loops look really good. There was an accident, as you can see, coming out of 30. As you approach the 635 loop. So you might have a 15, 20-minute delay there. But otherwise, it's just going to be your normal stop and go. Up here in Bedford on the 820 loop, you might see another 15 to 20-minute merge problem. And that happens every day, all day long. So again, Just something to be expected. Looks great coming up from the south, which is usually an issue. 30 coming through Arlington is usually a problem. It looks good this morning as you start out. So as we get going, when you start out in the DFW area, hey, be slow, increase your space, and it should stay green and a pretty smooth commute for you this morning. Kansas City area. Kansas City looks great. Again, the loops look awesome. Looks like there might be an accident right here at 635. And what is that highway? Is that 35? Okay. As a merge point there, you can see a little bit of congestion. So about a 10 to 20 minute delay there possibly. But the rest looks really good for your commute in Kansas City this morning. Chicago. Again, Chicago looks pretty good. Coming in from Indiana, not too bad. You don't see any slowdowns. The loop looks really good. Bolingbrook, a little bit of a traffic there, probably a 5 to 10 minute delay as you come in on 55. And then over by Minooka, another issue on 80, but again, not a big one. Probably looks like about a 10 to 15 minute delay there coming through there. And all your loops look great as we approach the Chicago area this morning. 90 looks good. So Atlanta looks typical like Atlanta, maybe not quite as bad. You know, we've seen red all the way around the loop. And again, it's just the northern half and actually the northeastern half. So from the 78 in Clarkson all the way around to Sandy Springs and 75, you're going to expect some delays, some stop and go areas. Looks like the biggest one's going to be about a 20 minute delay up here in the northern part. And then we've got a problem coming into the loop from the 20 from the west, just right out here by this little airport. As you come in, you might see looks like a pretty good long delay, maybe a 20, 25 minute delay there. But the rest of the loop looks pretty good. As usual, you must take the loop around Atlanta unless you deliver inside the loop. So make sure you stay on it. And it looks like the southern loop portion of the loop is going to be your best bet this morning if you can take that one. Philadelphia, New Jersey side looks a little bit better. Haddonfield and Haddon, a little bit of a congestion area there, but all in all, not too bad on the New Jersey side. A little smaller area as you come down 295 into 495 along the river south of Philadelphia. It looks pretty good. The Turnpike, always a problem as you come in from all the way from Norristown down into the downtown area. And then over here in Medea and the Marple Township, you got some delays there as well, about a 15 to 20 minute delay in that area as well. So all in all, not too bad for your morning commute in Philadelphia area. Nashville again, not so bad. You know, 24 is always an issue, but it looks like it's broken up a little bit. It does extend all the way down to Walnut Ridge. Got a little break here in Antioch, and then again at Bakertown and Beverly Heights. Expect some slowdowns, and that's coming in to the loop. The loop itself looks pretty good. A little bit here at Radnor, but not too bad. And then we've got a little bit of congestion from 40, the 24 merge right there. Typically that can have an issue. It looks like it is this morning, probably an accident in there. And then always the 65 and 24 loop up there at the top. Looks like normal congestion at the merge point there for your Nashville commute this morning. Hey, as we look in the Baltimore area, a little bit more congested than yesterday. It looks like the entire northern part of the loop looks pretty congested this morning. But the southern part looks great. 295 looks like there's some issues on both directions. 95 looks clear from Baltimore down to the DC area. The 495 loop here looks pretty good till you get to there. The loop looks really congested. It is all the way from 270 all the way down here to the 301 area and Route 4 at Forestville. You're going to have some major delays. It's just solid orange and red all the way up to Silver Spring and Bethesda. So again, expect some slowdowns on there if you're in that area. Head in either direction. Make sure you slow down, increase the space. You know, DC area is always congested. It can be. So just this morning, looks like we need to pack our patience and be slow there. Also, 95 coming in the DC area by Lorton and Woodbridge. You're going to expect about a 20-25 minute delay there. Again, over here in Annandale, some problems. And then also coming in from the east here on 66 at Fair Oaks at Centerville, going to expect some delays there as well. Indianapolis looks pretty good. I mean, we got a little bit of a congestion down here on the loop as the 74 loops around 465 at the merge points. you're going to see some, let's see, what is them cities there? Looks just a little bit west of Beech Grove. And then again up here in the northern part, as you take 37 up north, off of the loop, you're going to expect some slowdowns there at that merge point in Indianapolis. Otherwise, 70 looks good going through the downtown area, so you shouldn't have too much of an issue as you approach the Indianapolis area this morning. Hey, on our weather again, we're watching this little snow. Again, they're talking in the 4 to 6 inch range and mainly in the upper elevations, okay? So you just got to be mindful of the time of day that you're driving, evening hours. This is one of those where it might be best to, hey, just stay off the mountain passes, stay off the highways, let the morning sun come up, get the plows out ahead of you, the salt trucks, whatever they're going to use to treat the road, and you should be good. As we move into this, we watch what it does throughout the day. It kind of moves and gets a little bit bigger as it moves into Montana. And on Wednesday, you can see it breaks up a little bit, but we get a little bit more cells. Denver, Colorado could see a little bit of snow. Wyoming, up in North Dakota, you can see some snow as well on Wednesday. And for our Turkey Day, again, the snow kind of dries up. It stays mainly up here on the Great Lakes and into the Canada area. And there will be a thunderstorm that pushes through Wednesday night, a front line, pushes through the Texas area down to Houston, bringing some cooler weather behind it and some strong, heavy potential storms as it pushes south into the Houston area, Corpus Christi, all them areas. And you can see the line stretches all the way up into the Ohio Valley. So could see some rain on Thanksgiving Day, stretching all the way from Detroit down into Mexico. So be mindful of that. I think our winds stay pretty mild, if you will, for most of that. There'll be some spots you can see, but today it's going to be right there, just right along that mountain range, just west of Denver. You can see, but again, we're looking at the 23s, maybe the low 30-mile-an-hour gusts. So it just requires about a 10 to 15-mile speed reduction. On Wednesday, we're going to see a little bit more area, but again, we're in the mid to low 30s. Again, going to take about a 10 to 15-mile speed reduction if you run today or tomorrow in them areas. And then for Thanksgiving, South Texas is going to see most of the wind and a little bit up there in Wyoming. So, and again, we're in the mid-20s up in the Ohio Valley, right along the Illinois and the Mississippi River, St. Louis, seeing the mid to upper 20 wind gusts. New snow over the next 24 hours. You can see mainly up there in the northwest. We'll see a little bit in New York coming off the lake effect snow. And if we go to 3 days, you can kind of see that system moves in to Washington, Oregon, Montana, Idaho, parts of Wyoming, and then another cell down here in Colorado that could dump, about an inch or two of snow. This is not expected to be a major storm system. So, hey, again, just to remind you as we come to this Turkey Day, please slow it down, increase your space, and we're going to take a quick break and be right back with some safety.
Welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Folks, we had a great couple of Don Christian and Brian Brzezowski with BCB Transport and Christian Transportation going over the supply chain issue that's on the front page of every news station, every newspaper. It's on the front state. As soon as you walk into the grocery store now, it's saying supply crisis. There's nothing in here. It's all over the place.
Yes. I think basically now all of it's solved. I think we've got it's all solved. There's no more problems after today. We've gotten all the answers that we truly need, and let's just move forward and be successful.
You know what? One thing that I did like from both of them was the emphasis they put on safety. You know, from the culture, not just to the drivers, right, but to the backside, to their dispatchers. And you know, Christensen Don had said, we go from place to place, making sure that we're giving everybody the understanding of what goes on in safety, even to the pay person. And I think Brian said the same thing, is that there's a lot of power in reducing the anxiety to a driver by addressing their pay issues timely and promptly, right? So we hear about that because, buckle up, Bob, when we think about driving and we think about what you do in talking to drivers, there's a lot of, we got to take a lot of that anxiety home. Anxiety from not getting home, from pay, from lack of miles, from bad weather. All of that creates a huge amount of anxiety.
And even something so simple as knowing where you're going next. I mean, believe it or
Thank you.
not,
Agree.
I as a driver, just knowing,
Agree.
because I can't really truly plan my day if I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's hard to plan today if you don't know what you're doing tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Do I go to sleep now, or am I going to wake up and you're going to say, hey, your load picks up at 9 o'clock tonight? And you're like, oh, gosh, I could have stayed with Grandma and had Grandma's breakfast in the morning.
Absolutely. That is a big deal, not knowing the what's going on the next day. And that way, and you know what, drivers are actually, not me, but drivers are actually pretty good of knowing the best place to stop, right? If they know what they're doing and how it's going to work and affect them the next day and where they can eat and where the great place to park. But if you throw it on me at the last minute, then I got to make do, and it's stressful, and it makes it really difficult.
That's a terrific point. You know, we talk about that a lot. We ask our drivers to plan better, right? Well, how can they plan when they don't know what they're doing? So it's a team effort. We have to give them what are you doing so they can plan. Otherwise, you're expecting to make a plan out of a bad situation, and it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, set up for success. Let me tell you something. If you wonder, as a CSR person or as a HR person, as a recruiter, as a driver manager, if you're inside a trucking company, also, if you're sitting inside and you're unloading, you're a lumper, you're a shipper, you're a receiver, you make a big difference on how a driver's day goes from a safety perspective. We want these roads free, which means we have to take some of this out. And yes, we've got to have more parking. We're going to keep pushing this. We've got to have place for them to sleep. Driver said, Dave, as you used to be a driver, not once a driver, always a driver. It's different than a Marine.
Always.
Here we go, though. But how frustrating is it to have to park on the side of the road with nothing there? There's no restrooms. There's nothing.
Well, when forced to do so, not at your own choosing, but when forced to do so, and then certain things happen. But I'll tell you, it is frustrating, and especially when it's the last minute park, right? When you're forced to park there and you've got to shut down, man, it is so. And you know what? It's not only you don't feel safe, you don't feel secure, you don't sleep well.
All right, so I'm going to challenge you then. So why would you ever choose to park there if you had a parking location that was safe, that was lit, that had your restrooms, that had a place to eat and all? You wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't. You do it now because that's just the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of the times you make a choice. Hey, if I park here, I'll be available right next to my delivery, or I'll be set up for success for tomorrow because I want to make sure I get that run in the complete run and not be short of hours. So you make some of those decisions, but I'll tell you, if you had the opportunity to park safely and had access to facilities and was better equipped, you're going to take that. That's why the truck stops fill up, because that's exactly what you're talking about.
And Buckle Bob, and it's crazy to think this. So, but you know, parking, you know, a pre-plan, you know, telling the drivers what to do. That's all about safety.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it sure is. And you know, and you mentioned something earlier. It's about when the drivers call. You got to realize a lot of times they just need a vent. They just need something to get that off their chest, and it helps because when they get that anger while they're parked, and you just let them unload. And most of them, and I'd say 99.9% of them, will apologize afterwards and just say, hey, it's all right. I'd rather you unload on me than to be carrying us going down the highway because you are distracted then. And all these things frustrate them. You know, I don't think you can go through any major city and not have road construction, which is going to slow them down. Then you've got the bad plan, you know, the changing of the dispatch, you know, their loads, and they're trying to plan to get home, especially holiday season's already stressful enough. And now you've got to take that into consideration as well.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little. You want to talk safety? You want to just jump into some videos?
Let's just jump into some
All
videos.
right, it's video time on BCB Live.
All right. So I was on the phone, so I did not get to look at a lot of these. So
That's
we're going
all
to
right.
see as we go.
Here we go.
Kind of looks again. Oh, man.
Come on.
What we got?
Come on.
Driver, you're better than this. Look, and what you see in this picture, when you get the big picture, we talk all the time. Where are you going? Right? There's no room ahead, so just be patient.
Well, first,
Back
I
off
mean,
right
if we count the seconds, drive safe, Dave. I know you're the professional of this.
We can't.
Yeah, right.
You
can't.
You never.
You're
In
too
fact, by the way,
close.
this doesn't ever improve. This video never improves. I mean, you're way too close. Not only do you move into a bad position, but you stay in a bad position. So you're making two bad choices here. Number one, you don't set yourself up for success, and you don't leave your room for it. You don't give yourself an out, especially in that space right in front.
Yeah, so what we want you to do is count out loud, because I do believe that will help you. When you count out loud and you can't get to one, you know you're too close. So
Absolutely.
I'm going to encourage you to count out loud. It may seem silly, but you know what? The truck next to you, if they see you, they just think you're singing karaoke.
Or yeah, or you're on the Bluetooth, or you're talking to them.
There you go.
All right, got a little bit of an incline here. You know, again, why space is important. What we're going to see here in a little bit is some debris. There it is, right? You never know what it is. We've seen mattresses, right? We've seen ambulances as debris in the middle of the road. So, again, got to keep that space, you know, very important. Start to close a little bit here. Again, we saw that a week or so ago where the vehicle swerved around the mattress, and then you can't, right? You have to hit it, and it just creates problems. So back off, keep that space from the vehicle in front of you so that you can react to things that you just can't see. There's no way to see that that's in the
I mean,
road.
you're right. I mean, even in a big truck, you can't see what's in front of that minivan right there. You can't see it, and you think you're so much higher. Drive safe, Dave. So for us that don't drive for a living, never have, I mean, you really do think, well, you're up so high, you can see what's in front of the car.
Not on the road. You can't see what's on the road. You don't have a clear view, and plus there's a big truck in front of him, so he's limited on his ability to see. And then by the time you get it, and that's why it's so important to create that concrete between you and the vehicle in front of you. And here, as you watch the vehicle in front of you, you'll notice that the brakes hit and they stay on. A great indication that you need to start backing off and getting ready, because they never let go of those brakes. And when that happens, that usually means they're starting to press harder and harder and harder.
Another reminder real quick that there's no time for distractions when you're driving. I mean, the driver here a little too close, yet was able to stop safely on that. However, if this driver's on the phone, if this driver's looking down, trying to find that bag of potato chips, we have a problem right here.
We do.
Great job in staying alert. We just want to increase. And again, I'm going to encourage you to count out loud the seconds you are behind the vehicle in front of you. Next video, please.
We've been talking this week about deer strikes. So here's one. You know, again, we talked right off the bat about know the area, and later on in the week, we'll have a got hit by a car. Then, you know, obviously the wounded animals in this driver's lane now too. So again, know the areas. We'll have some of the states. I will tell you, this state is in the top 5. It's Pennsylvania. When you're in Pennsylvania, there are going to be deer. Now, it looked like that deer was coming from the left trying to get across and got hit by a car in the right lane, but it looked like it was heading that way.
Yep.
So, again, know your areas. Pennsylvania is notorious for deer running on the highways. This one here, again, late change, right? Going to jump over the illegal double white line. Boy, you got it. Again, can't reach down. You know, this is one of those scary things. You've created all this space, right? So now you think, okay, I got all this space. I can reach down and get my chips. And then, boom, know the area around you. If you see a car coming up on the side of you, you don't have the space. You may look like it in the front, but remember, space is not just what's in front of you. It's all the way around you.
Yeah, and the car's probably like, yeah, I made it. I told you I could make it, telling his you know, the person in the passenger seat. And
I got this, I got this, I got this.
That's the unfair thing that you have in your job, is you've got to stay alert all the time. There's no time to close your eyes for a second, to buckle up Bob's point. You know what? It's clear. Yeah. Boy, I can just kind of relax. Where are them chips at? Yeah. And then this happens right here.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, and just so, and you can ask any driver out there on the road, that actually happens about 5 times in every 500 miles. That right there.
Yes.
That is a very common occurrence for trucks, that people come from the lane to the left across you to exit because they don't want to have to slow down and exit behind you.
And didn't gain anything.
Didn't gain anything at all.
But we think it is. Here we got a car fire, you know, so slowing down, getting over as far as you can. Obviously, a lot of emergency vehicles probably going to be there. And look at this location. You know, it just amazes me when we see some of these locations where you have no out no matter what. Can you imagine if you were following too close to a car, you know, in this area? But great job here by this driver, really knocking the speed down and getting ready, getting over as far as they can.
Great respect for the first responders.
Again, here, you know, you've got a light coming up. You're in a construction. Stale green, right? We see this green. It's not going to change, is it, Drive Safe? It never changes. Oh, but it always changes right when we get to the intersection. And we could have stopped there. You know, this is a decision that's made. The speed is good. Everything's good, but this is just a decision that was made to run this light. We've got to slow down them intersections, right? People are going to run red lights. I know you were yellow, but you've got to watch that. We've just seen it too often. People run the red light, especially late at night when they see there's no traffic. They think, oh, there's nobody out there. I'm just going to run this thing.
You know, and you got to ask yourself, and honestly, you got to ask yourself, am I willing to relax for 2 minutes and give everyone an opportunity to be safe, or am I going to risk everything, my career, everybody's life, for just 2 minutes?
So I'm going to play the other side of this. And if we saw that last video there, right, we run the yellow light, the red light, whatever that was, is like, it looked like the driver was driving, doing all he can. It's like, come on, would you turn yellow already so I can stop? You know, I almost feel like he's doing that when he's driving, like, come on, turn. Well, I can't go any slower. And then he gets to the light and it turns yellow and he's like, you know, so I look at that too, Drive Safe Dave. The driver was going through construction. They were going pretty slow. It appeared to be. I don't know.
About 24 miles.
24 miles an hour. Sometimes you're just in a bad spot too. But I looked at that, and I'm going to ask you. I mean, could he have really stopped?
Yes, going that slow, absolutely, and especially that. But
it would have been a hard break.
Better a hard break, sir, and everybody be safe. Than not the hard break.
Oh, so hard breaks aren't necessarily bad.
No.
Sometimes they just have to happen. Hey, producer, give me a phone call.
Yeah, we got Dennis Wonderchuck and then Jeff Hoffman. So what do you got for us, Mr. Wonderchuck?
Yes, I'm confused. Please straighten me out on this whole vaccine mandate. When I go on the internet, it says truckers are exempt from vaccines, but the way Big Blue was talking, sounds like we're not. So are we or are we not exempt?
Well, we don't know what's going to happen with that. From the reading of it, the trucking industry felt like we were or are going to be, let me just say that, excluded from that. But the OSHA hasn't came out and done that yet. And that's where the big trucking associations are going to. They're saying, just come out and say we're exempted on it. Nobody's done that yet. However, I will say there's a major stay on this right now. That vote's happening in the 6th Circuit, I believe, up in Cincinnati, where they're going to vote this. I think the trucking industry in general feels like we're going to be exempted from it. However, we haven't heard anything from OSHA yet.
I don't believe OSHA is going to say anything or release any guidelines until after the verdict by the 6th Circuit Court. I think there's too many challenges going on, and there's no reason to try to go out and implement a policy that may not even be necessary in the long run. So we're all waiting. And it looks like it's going to be around the December 7th to December 10th time frame is when they're going to get a judgment.
All right. Thank you for that, Dennis. So no exemption yet, although we feel that they're speaking to us. They just won't come out and say it.
We know what we want. We don't got it yet.
Hey, we have Mr. Hoffman. How about you, Jeffrey? That was probably his question, too. I'm going to go out there and say, we have him. There he is.
What's up, Mr. Hoffman?
We got you, Jeff. Oh, no.
Maybe he's just in a bad area. He might be in a bad area.
Yep, bad area or phone service that doesn't work. You know what? I'm not going to plug a phone service yet. However, if you don't want us to talk bad about you, we encourage you to email us at bcblive@bcblive.com. Hey, Drive Safe Dave, let's close this out with a prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we gather before you today to ask for your grace in all things. Father, we come before you on this special day to give us the ability, the power, and the wisdom to go out there and do things for other people, especially being safe. Father, we have that in us. Give us that ability to make that great decision today, to be courageous in our safety, to be excited in our safety, and to be willing to do what it takes to go out there today and be your servant in safety. Father, we ask this in all things. Amen.
Amen. Make today the safest day ever. And then you can do that again tomorrow. Right now, focus on today. This is BCB Live. We're the safest station in the nation. We're going to see you later on this afternoon. God bless.